What if your ability to talk could make you some money in the bank? So I'm talking no inventory, no coding, no fancy skills, just the power of pure persuasion, negotiation, and communication. So the concept of spit equity is being able to generate revenue for yourself and for other businesses just by using your talking skills, your persuasion skills, your communication skills. So stick around till the end of this video and I'm gonna give you the 8 opportunities of spit equity. Put in your spit, get equity out, and then stick around till the end for my favorite one where I mention how you can leverage the lowest amount of time and spit for the highest amount of upside. So if you're ready, let's go. Okay, so number 1, the first spit equity side hustle you can consider if you have the communication and persuasion skills is starting an online course. Now, a lot of people, they say online courses, everybody's got an online course. That may be true, but for somebody who has the right persuasion skills and talking skills, this is how you can differentiate yourself from most other course creators who just rehashed what's out there or don't have the effort or don't have that level of communication for them to persuade and for them to convert the audience. So how do you do this? First off, you want to pick your niche. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming you do have the communication, persuasion skills, sales skills, because that should be your core, right? If that's the only skill set you're bringing to the table, spit equity, at least you got to be good with it. So having that as a baseline skill set, you want to pick a niche or a topic. You could talk about how to be better at speaking in general, how to be a better communicator as a father, as a boss, as maybe an employee trying to get to the next level, or as a student trying to get into a master's or university, right? Or a higher level education. So you have to pick a niche. After that, you pick a platform. You can go to platforms like Teachable, Udemy. There's a lot of different platforms out there, Gumroad, right? And then you can establish yourself as an expert in that niche, in that topic, by then creating a program to share how you help people improve. By putting in that initial work, creating that course content, putting it on a platform, you're able to leverage that, your own talent, your own spit equity. You're able to leverage that and have it be working for you 24/7 while you move on to promoting it. Regarding promoting it, you do the same thing. Having your communication skills in place, what you want to do is start talking about bits and pieces, takeaways, small stories from your program about people you've helped and then the process that you use, and then use that as social media content to promote your course. If they want to know more, send them to your course to then enroll. So that's idea number 1, start an online course. All right, so number 2, the second spit equity side hustle you can start if you're not too keen in creating courses and you're more inclined into dealing with or working with people or smaller groups of people. What you can do is start a coaching or a consulting business. Now, this is a little bit different from starting a course, because in coaching or consulting, you work directly with people one-on-one. So in the market right now, you have people that prefer to do it themselves and learn themselves, which are then the people that buy the courses. But then you have a higher level set of people that might choose more personalized attention and approach, right? They want it done with them, for example. So what you can do is, instead of coming up with a course for your program, what you want to do is you want to come up with a coaching program or a consulting offer. And the same thing as starting a course, what you want to do is establish your expertise, establish the transformation that people go through when going through your program and expertise, and then position that as a coaching program or a consulting program that you can then market through word of mouth, through referrals, social media, through LinkedIn, through email, through networking, where you're showcasing the transformation that you can deliver to people by going through your program. So that's the second one. set up a coaching or consulting offer. And then with that, again, letting them go through your process, letting your spit equity do the work while you collect the cash. All right, so number 3, the next side hustle spit equity option you have, influencer growth partner. So what does this mean? Nowadays, in the age of the internet, you have a lot of influencers that have built audiences. What's currently happening is that most of these influencers are only monetizing through 1 or 2 methods. So being a smart and savvy individual like yourself, what you can do is find these influencers that have big lists of followings that they may or may not be monetizing. And then have an idea of how you can help them monetize their brand. From there, once you collect the influencers and collect some ideas on how you can help them, what you can do is reach out to these guys and say something like, John, I noticed that you built a following on Instagram of 10,000 people. I love the engagement. I love the content that you're putting out. And I also have a few ideas on how we can create more engagement and potentially further monetize the asset. Are you open if I share more ideas? So something like that. And you can send it to these influencers with the followings. And then once they respond, obviously you want to have a conversation with them, present your ideas, and then see who would want to work together with you to then execute on these ideas. So what that does for you is, number 1, it eliminates you having to build your own audience. And then number 2, you're able to test out these different ideas that you might not have the opportunity to try without the audience. And the bonus there is that you also get paid if you strike the right deal, right? So if you have the communication skills, negotiation skills to reach out, connect with these people and broker that deal and execute on what you're pitching, you can be compensated without doing most of the heavy lifting. Okay, so number 4, the 4th spit equity side hustle you can do is doing a podcast for a niche audience. So the broad opportunity, you have podcasting. The sub-opportunity, riches are in the niches, as our friend Tony Robbins said, shout out to Mr. Tony Robbins, is finding niches where you can become the big fish in the small pond. What do I mean by that? Let's take an example from one individual who's done this very successfully, a man I respect and I follow, Mr. Nathan Latka. So this individual, what he did is, before even attempting to go into the podcasting space, he did the research. And from the research that he's done, he's identified a segment, a sub-segment, a niche within the niche of startup businesses, from businesses, startup businesses, and then tech startup businesses. And then from there, the angle that he took was what the potential listeners he was going to go after are potential investors and people interested in the numbers, in the valuation of these startups. That's key data, very key data that these investors want to know. So what he did is he reached out to tech software founders, right, that are up and coming. They might have done investor rounds already. And then he would ask them questions about their current EBITDA, their current earning per employee, churn rate, MRR, valuation numbers. They may or may not tell him their valuation numbers, but through his questions, he's able to understand and reverse engineer their valuation numbers, which he then curated the data, which he now sells to investors, right? And this guy, he's been sued a lot of times for doing this, but this shows you the power of niching in and becoming that big fish in the small pond. Because after Nathan this guy lines up 4 to 8 interviews a day, does them back to back, does them in bulk, produces them in 2-3 weeks, and he's got the content for months. And by following this strategy, he was able to become that big fish, small pond, gather a lot of data, gather a lot of notoriety, become number 1 in the segment, and also curate information that he can recycle and sell to investors while becoming the number 1 in the segment. So that's one very effective way of using your talking skills, your persuasion skills, communication skills to really dial in and have a great asset in starting a niche podcast that you can also monetize while building authority with, right? So if you haven't heard of the guy, I think the podcast, it's still up. The book, he has a book, How to Become a Capitalist Without Having Capital, something like that. But I used to travel with a book. In that book, he breaks down how he launched the podcast with his outreach scripts and even other additional monetization that he's been able to do by following these specific strategies with his niche podcast, right? So if you haven't checked out the book, check it out. Highly recommend it. Okay, so number 5, the 5th spit equity side hustle you can do is negotiating deals with small to medium businesses. Partnership deals, I mean, okay? So with this strategy, what's currently happening is that there's a lot of small, medium businesses that are considering growth. But what a lot of them lack is that initiative and also that negotiation skills to actually find the right partners and lock in the right deals. So what you can do is you can approach small businesses. And if you have an opportunity to connect them with specific partners that's gonna allow them to grow, you can pitch them those ideas. And then from there, you can try to understand the type of partners that's really gonna help them, maybe the partners their competitors are using, maybe brainstorm ideas of what types of partners can actually help them out. From there, what you can do is go out and find these partnerships. So if you've identified that there's a potential partnership between a restaurant and then maybe a fleet of delivery motorcycles, or a POS system that has another user base, these are the things that you want to be able to identify. And once you've done that, you can reach out to the partners as well and do the same thing. You can pitch them the small business numbers, expansion, the details of how they can then both partner with each other to work together and both grow together. See a lot of these deals being structured in for example, the credit card space. This is big enterprise deal structuring, but you can replicate it at a smaller scale. So you would have different software companies that would give a discount if you're part of, let's say, the American Express credit card network or Visa network, or you have different companies that have cross promotions between each other. And these are essentially what's happening on the back end, is that there's a partnership manager that connects these different companies and then find ways on how they can collaborate and share customers while also both growing. If you're good at finding deals and finding partnerships and being able to connect those two, this is something you can consider, is doing partnerships for small to medium businesses. All right, number 6 is becoming a high-ticket sales consultant. Again, with the advent of online sales, with the advent of transactions being normalized online, there's been more and more demand for people who have the persuasion skills, the closing skills, negotiation skills to bridge that gap. Because you have software companies, agencies, different deals that range from $10,000, $100,000, $1 million, even more. And the key thing that these companies need is still a person that would be the face of that company, that deal, in order to bridge the gap and close the deal. Because sometimes there's only so much automation and software can do in order to close that high ticket deal. And for that gap to be bridged, you need to have a personality that can address concerns, understand the customer, and really reassure the customer that they're in good hands by trusting the person on the other end of the line. So this is a skill set that served me a lot. It served me countless, immeasurable times, right? Because developing my sales skills, communication skills, it's just returned multiples and multiples in revenue, in income that supported me. So if you have the persuasion skills, I suggest get into high ticket sales and really try to understand that it's not being about pushy, it's not being about high pressure, no used car salesman techniques, right? It's really about understanding human psychology and then being able to listen and then bridge the gap, presenting your solution as the way for them to alleviate the pain, right? So high ticket sales, 100% recommend it. It is one of my favorite ways for spit equity, make money, especially online, the fastest way. And it's a skill set that you can keep developing over time as well. All right, so the next one is starting a private equity fund. We're starting to get to the higher level here. Now, this requires a little bit more communication, negotiation, and deal-making skills, which you can refine and improve on and develop. The idea is you would raise capital. A private equity fund is pretty much a pool of money that's been generated, right? You can raise capital to put it in this pool of funds, and then that pool of funds is then used to invest in up-and-coming investments that could potentially have a higher return. So the way you get paid here is if you're managing that fund, you have a management fee, and you also get payout for the amount of return from the fund. If your skill sets is finding deals and then being able to raise capital, and then being able to put a team together to analyze these deals and understand which ones are going to be profitable or not, then this spit equity side hustle is for you. You have individuals like Bridger Pennington. Shout out to Bridger. He's got a whole YouTube channel about private equity funds and buying and selling businesses through a fund, raising capital for your fund. So check out his video, check out his channel. If you want more information on private equity funds, Bridger's your guy. All right, so the last one and my favorite one so far. Now, it's my favorite because the concept of it, the idea of it is amazing for me. Although I have not personally done it myself at that scale, I've done it at smaller scale, but it's still my favorite one. I look forward to doing it at an even bigger scale if I get the chance to in the future. So what is it? So the last one, spit equity side hustle we're talking about here, is brokering business deals. So here's the idea. You would find a business that wants to be sold, right? And typically the criteria you want to have is they're undervalued, the owners are wanting to exit, or there's some sort of issue with the business that can be fixed. The second thing you want to do is identify how to improve that business. The baseline is that at least it's a profitable business that you can potentially then sell because it's undervalued, or with your expertise, you can come in, improve it a little bit, and then sell it. The second part of this equation is finding the buyer. Now, in the last idea, there's the PE funds. You would also have other people that want to invest, that might want to invest in a business like the PE fund, the venture fund, accredited investors, investor pools, right? So the second asset you want to build here is an investor list. So first off, you want to have a list of businesses and then an investor list. And then what you do is bridge the gap. Again, knowing the numbers, knowing what the potential returns are, current returns are from the business, you can then package that all up and then find a group of buyers or one buyer to then buy that business. And in between, you'd make 5 to 10%. So by simply brokering the deal, not using your own money, not having to have build the business yourself, you are able to take part of that high ticket business interaction of actually selling a business. So that's my favorite so far. I think it has the biggest upside, biggest opportunity, and lowest risk. But all you need to do is get really good at finding these deals and also building that network of potential investors to then take on the deals, right? So if you want to know more about that, there's a few resources that I can share in the link in the description below. But I follow an individual on Twitter, Mr. James Camp. He does this, but more on a hold basis. I don't think he connects them necessarily to the buyers, but he buys online businesses to improve and then he sells them afterwards. So that's a good resource to follow. Otherwise, there's also a few investor groups and Facebook groups that share more information about this. And maybe if there's enough interest, I'll do a breakdown on a video like that about how I'm planning on getting into that business as well and understanding how it really works from the inner workings of it and talking to people that are already involved with it. All right, so that is pretty much it. Those are the eight. Those are the 8 spit equity side hustle business ideas that you can start today. If you have the talking skills, communication skills, negotiation skills, and you don't want to have inventory, no returns, no fancy tech stuff, then consider one of these ideas, give it a try, and let us know in the comments if you have any other ideas or how they went for you. So until then, check you out on the next one. Peace.